If your current plan for dealing with stress, fatigue, general issues, life problems is just to hang on and push through, I have got something to tell you that you probably won't like. Willpower will not work. Willpower is just a mood. It will not see you through. White knuckle in life will not see you through. The thing is, when your car engine runs out of oil and the battery seizes, what happens? Engine broken. When you run out of fuel, what happens? No more engine. This is what your willpower is. Your willpower is that battery life that is just running down. It's that giving you a couple of hours to get you from A to B. It is your 500 miles in the tank. It is your battery at 87%. But when it's cold and you're using GPS and suddenly the battery disappears, that's what willpower is. Now, I'm going to tell you how to prevent that total breakdown. And I'm going to use my story on this one. I'm going to give you my example of what broke down and what led to total collapse so it does not happen to you. Okay? As I said, it has a battery life. It is a finite resource. It's like trying to sprint full pelt. You know, kid, and you've got your brand new trainers on. You're like, how fast I can run. And then after 10, 15 seconds, it's gone. It is a finite resource. It will not last forever. And to put that into context of a CEO, an executive, a business founder, that can be every single decision that you make. You make a decision, it erodes 1%. You make another decision, it erodes another 1%, and so on. And then you start to drain that battery, and then suddenly engine failure, battery gone, catastrophic collapse. And let's hope not. It's that slow slide. It's being awake at 4 a.m. and thinking, oh my God, how am I going to pay the bills? And then you're not sleeping properly. Then you're not eating properly. Then you start to have a little couple of drinks, right? A little snifter. And then it's a beer. Then it's 2 beers. Then it's 5 beers. In my case, it was 10, 12 pints in the afternoon. Then I'd stop at the garage on the way through, walking, not driving, grabbing 3 bottles of cheap wine, coming back, bawling my eyes out, watching Top Gun, and then waking up the next morning full of regret, and then repeat again. Everything starts to change when you do not have systems and processes in your place, when you're white knuckling, when you're redlining all the time. Decisions, overwhelm, running a business, family, you're snappy at the kids, you're not going to the gym, you're not going out for walks, you're not eating properly, erosion, and then suddenly you've slid off the edge and you're tumbling to catastrophic collapse. Now, here's the good news. This isn't a failure because you don't have what it takes. What you haven't done is apply what. The good news is you're not failing because you lack discipline. It's failing because you haven't applied the right mindset to the tasks in hand. You're trying to run your enterprise or your life or everything. You're trying to run for, maybe you're trying to drive to the Alps, which is 3,000 miles on 1 tank of fuel, which costs you 30 quid, right? It just isn't going to happen. It doesn't mean you haven't had the right intent. It doesn't mean that you don't have what it takes to do that. It just means that you haven't applied the same level of sense of thinking that you might have to one other part of your life. You know, you've got kids, you wouldn't even think about not feeding them, not clothing them, for example, but in your own life, you may not be eating properly, you may not be eating fluids, you may not be going to the gym, so you're systematically falling apart in that one part. But it doesn't mean that you don't have the discipline. It means that you haven't taken conscious ownership of those next steps that you need to take. So actually, whilst I'm here on this subject, I'm going to drop a link into the comments for a free mental fatigue audit that I've created. It takes no more than 3 minutes. It's 10 questions, and what it will do, will start to ask some questions, fuel some thinking, and will give you a score at the end about how mentally fatigued you could well be. Because like I say, it's that battery life. When the battery life is depleted, when the engine is empty, when the tank is running on fumes, You don't have the cognitive space to be able to make those really key decisions. And some of that might be you're sleeping, you're drinking, how many decisions you've got to make, decision fatigue. So look, I'm going to drop it into the comments, absolutely free. And look at that and just think, oh, I need to make some decisions. Maybe you won't, but actually what's the harm in taking 3 minutes? If you're watching this, it might well be that you're feeling that level of fatigue. You feel your spark has gone. You feel you've lost your mojo. You're capable of more, but you just don't know what. You don't know why it's breaking down. You don't know why others might seem to be excelling and you're not. This could well be it. Just your cognitive load is just too much and you're not performing optimally. So let me tell you a bit more about this story. So between probably 2006, 2024, life really started to break down. On paper, I had everything which was great. Engaged to be married. Do you still say that? Engaged to be married? I was engaged and ended up leaving that relationship because it was, but as it came through 2016, 2017, 2018, just the load of life increased. I didn't have any systems and processes in place. I had no discipline around it. I hated everything that was going on. I was resentful of everything. COVID hit. I'm not saying that's the excuse. I think the damage was done by the time COVID hit, if I'm absolutely honest about it. And the drinking, I was eating, binge eating so badly and making myself sick that the acid eroded my teeth and I had to have a load of dental work done because they were just crumbling. And then the alcohol took over and it led to complete collapse. And that is down to me because I did not take ownership and control of all the parts in my plate, in my world, needed dealing with. And that was making sure that I had an understanding of things like red flag behaviors. What were the things that I wasn't doing? Like, for example, I would not shower for days and days and days on end. Now, if I start to think about not showering, that is an instant red flag. What is going on in my life? If I feel this need to want to go to the pub in the afternoon and get absolutely smashed, what is breaking down on my life? Is it that there's not been enough interaction? Have I slept really badly? Am I eating poorly? Which means that I don't have the energy levels, which means I then make some really poor choices. And the flip side is, what are the green flag behaviors? Spend some time with people at the gym. I go for a walk with the greatest guys I know in the world, and it fills my cup up. So these are the systems and processes and blueprints that you can start to think about to keep you away from cognitive drain, things you hate, cognitive rebuild, or those are the things that you really like to do. Because one of the challenges is that guys, we want to tough it out, worry, it'll be absolutely fine. Still am living alone, and so it's easy for me to hide things. It's easy to isolate, and I don't necessarily always mean the physical isolation, closing off, not talking, and that can be a real problem when it comes to relationships fall apart, you become snappy. So just getting to understand what those behaviors are, because for me, I am the world's number one. If isolating myself physically and mentally was an Olympic sport, I would be like the Michael Phelps of this. I am very good at it, but I have to recognize that as a red flag behavior. One of the challenges you're going to face if you're in this space, poetic, is that you're not going to really see what's going on until it's too late. You have to apply a huge amount of discipline into this. And this is really fundamentally why I want to share this. Why I am comfortable is probably the wrong word. Why I'm happy to share my journey, so that you will hopefully see perhaps some of these behaviors that are going on, in which case what you can do is start to identify and fix or reach out to me. It will be that you have a look at the mental fatigue audit and you might think, holy crap, I need to be able to do some stuff here. And then you can reach out to me. Or you might start to think more intentionally about the things in your life which need to be done. But I do understand, I do see you. It can be a really lonely space, a really lonely place to be. But I want to give you that assurance that you can push through and you can get through this. So look, I'm going to kind of bring this to a close. One of the things that I do want to leave you with is an analogy of being out in a storm. So once you're out in the storm and the weather's bad and it's potentially lightning strikes, you kind of go, oh crap, I wish I wasn't here. Do you stand there and hope you're not going to get struck by lightning? Or do you start to then think about, what do I need to do? Do I need to put another jacket on? Do I need to find shelter? Do I need to keep moving? Do I need to turn around and go home? But actually what's better is the process before that, the thing behind the thing. Check the weather, make sure you got the right kit. What's your own capabilities? What is your emergency plan? What's your plan B and C? Because this is what your systems and your processes, your whole world strategy is going to be built around, is how do I stop getting to the thing or into the thing by putting a few checks and balances in before. And that's what I want to help you with. That's the reason why I'm sharing all this information, to help you identify things before you slow slide into total collapse like me. So look, this is it. I'll close down this one now, but trying to outwork the storm. Stop trying to willpower your way through, white knuckle your way through. Just powering on is not going to work, because it works to a point and then it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it is potentially catastrophic. I don't want what happened to me happening to you. So look, reach out to me, drop some comments below, my details, all of the descriptions as well, so you can get in contact with me. But anyway, look, until the next video, please do let us know in your comments. And if you've got this far, thank you so much for watching. Take care now.